Hey, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our journey into this amazing language that I'm discovering together with you, and each destination, each cluster or phrase of meanings give me new understanding every day about this language. I hope it can inspire you to explore more about this language. So 承上启下, we talked about you're holding or you got inspired, like you're inherit somebody's ideas or thoughts or energies, maybe, I don't know. You inherit something from your previous generation, and then you're going to inspire the next generation to open their own doors. So these are the ancient doors, 2-panel doors, and this is 1-panel door by speaking, by passing down your knowledge. Okay, so 承上启下 or 承前启后. Today is 承, the same, holding. Okay, 蒙, that's a lot more complicated idea. I did some research. You can see the top portion, they are all different renderings of 蒙, but this is a different one. Okay, we come down a little by little. Okay, so here we have seen this structure kind of looking like that, right? That's our grass. So we have 2 of them. That simply means multiple of grass, means grassland. Okay, and you have this structure. This structure means a space. So you have a space and covered by grasses. And then you have some sort of 4-legged being, right? My understanding, because this character came in a certain way as the name of a type of grass. And I think that's an oversimplification. Okay, yes, of course, it is something related to grass, and there's some pronunciation, sound maker in the middle. But now my newer, like a higher aspiring goal is to find the meaning of the structure, not just treat it like, if I cannot explain it anymore, I treat it as, oh, that's the sound maker. No, even the sound maker has its image, have a graphic meaning embedded to this structure, right? So this structure looks like a 4-legged living thing, like an animal. We talked about dog before, or bird before, or bear. Like there were different Chinese animal depictions, but if it's multiple legs, it's like 4-legged being. So type of animal. So my interpretation of, because I know contemporary, this character means Mongolia. If we use, just like English, we use initials to say the whole place, like MIT, right? Massachusetts. So M, the first letter of the whole word, represent that. That's the initial representation, right? So same thing. So if we say Mongolia, we want to simplify it to just one sound bite, and one character. We use Meng. And contemporarily, it's pronounced as Meng. It's a third sound. But here it's an action, it's a verb. It becomes Meng. Okay, so, but let's get to understand this character as it's Mongolia, in the sense of they are the people that not live on the farm, but grassland. Herding is their way of living. So these animals are simply their herd. And if the herd lives on a vast space, like this space with grass on top of it, that's happy living, right? That's the condition of they find their grassland, green places. Pasture, is it called pasture? I forgot, I don't use that language. I mean, this word that often, that they can have a good herd for them. So that's good life. So that's the Mongolian character. And we can understand now why this is Meng. This means, okay, you're in a good position in life and you're receiving all these natural resources. And okay, you have plant and you have meat, right? That's good life. You have all that you need to, have a good nutrition and to raise a family or whatever, make a good living. So that's a kind of receiving. It turns into the meaning of receiving, kind of a gratitude. Like you have this great pasture that you can herd your farm animals, that eventually you can meat them or milk them or ride them. So that's the kind of, from Mongolia. And this visuals, I understand that eventually means receiving. 承蒙 is like you hold their ideas, your heritage, and then you keeps receiving or benefiting from this rich pasture of thoughts or other conditions that created for you, before you, right? And then this is simply a complicated, another rendering of this. It becomes higher stacked up. So it's vertically elongated, but you can see this grass symbol over there. And then you have this big structure to show that's a big wide space. That's give you a spatial sense. And then you have this complicated structure in the middle, kind of depicting this animal looking thing. So it's a kind of animal bones, structures, tendons, you can imagine over there. And just standing from afar, you can see visually, it's almost like somebody posing like that, right? It's like doing that thing, that pose. And I find it, interesting. It's relatable to contemporary pose making, Instagram pose making era that looks very chic, even, or chic, yes, even for today. And that character, like that rendering of that language, thousands of years ago. Okay. And here, I just want to show you another similar looking thing, but it means differently. It means a burial ground. It means graveyard. And here is enclosure. It's not an open space anymore. It's an enclosure, right? And then the animal is still this animal looking, but with this line, stroke over there. So I don't know. So back then, if adding the stroke, it means this thing is stiff. It doesn't move anymore. So that's a dead thing. That's dead thing in an enclosure space. That's a burial ground, right? So all that makes sense, starting to make sense to me. Okay, so guan, this is guan. Okay, this is simplified guan. So we can basically ignore that because I cannot explain why that means guan. It's just a symbol that we inherit from the simplified after simplification. And actually in the language evolution history, it's non-linear. You cannot really come to the origin, but in the middle, it can be transformed and can borrowed, referred, reinvented, reinterpreted, and make it more complicated or make it simplified. So all that process adding to this original thing. And it's hard to tell, like from down the history 1,000 years later, when we, the contemporary language user, see the origin of this language, sometimes it's hard to, relate and trace back down all these chains of change, right? Here I'm trying my best. So this is supposedly the origin, close to the origin of the meaning of this guan. And you can kind of visually see like how that's simplified to this, right? So here we talked about before, this is 2-panel door. And we have this structure on the top. It means the panels on the top of the door, because normally in Chinese doors, the top panels are more decorative. So that's more emphasized over here. And then the bottom, we saw this as babies or as thread before. It could be either, this 2 circular thing. And then this, you can see these are symmetrical, like the whole thing is totally symmetrical, right? That means some mechanisms on the door. And actually back then it's something to close the door, to lock the door. So it means door locking or closing motion or mechanism. And okay, so from that close, so this is the original meaning. From that close, here is an interesting cross-language, cross-cultural comparison. in Chinese, in English, we have close. That means the action of door closing. But also it means close up is you view something in a close up, short distance, kind of intimacy, right? Like intimately know something. That's kind of close. Chinese too, here in here, it means originally door closing, but here is a close observation. So I guess once the door is closed, it means it's a spatially limited place that you then have the opportunity to really take the time because you cannot go anywhere else. You're close in there and you have to, have better observation of things. So that's a kind of close. 照, okay, 照, it's a little bit complicated and I'm running out of battery. Okay, so here it's 4 things together. And it actually is eventually adding up, like add 4 times to make this end word. So this bottom 4 dots, sometimes it's water, sometimes it's fire. In this case, it came from the fire and it was placed here. But for the convenience or spatial placement of writing form, eventually it becomes the bottom. That's just easier. So that because you have 4 elements, it's a pretty crowded place. And then you have the sun, right? This is the sun. And then you have the mouse here. This is easy for us now. And this is the knife. So what does it mean? I put together why it means illuminate. Okay, let me pare it down with you. So fire, right? The source of light back then, the sun, fire. And then the sun, right? And you have the mouse that making the sound. But okay, in Chinese, ancient Chinese, we emphasize a lot about speaking evenly. Like it's not sharp, like piercing to the ears. It's pleasant to hear. That's the ideal. But when you put a knife in there, it's a killing sound, a jarring sound. It kind of like kills your ear, kind of sharp. Or imagine the metal sound. It's kind of high pitched. All of a sudden, like if we see the sound wave, it's like that, right? A kind of sharp sound. So the right portion originally, it means you're shouting out, you yell out and to ask for attention, to shout out, to call somebody, like from far away, probably in the field. So you have to use high pitch, annoying sound, like a really sharp sound, like a knife to really call somebody's attention. So eventually that means, okay, that's some sharply sounded with the sun. Okay, that means illuminate. It means shine on something, have the light on. So you have the sound, and you have the sun, the light source, and then you have the heat, the fire, all together, put together. It means, okay, you see something clearly, it's lightened up for you, and you have this sharp sound to make you pay attention. So that's the kind of clarity that you have. And 承蒙关照 is actually very commonly used. If you're a new kid in town, you would use 承蒙关照 to say to the, whoever already there, to ask them for their clothes, illuminating you, to provide you the content, the care, context, like where your living environment is like, right? To give you their personal attention because you're a new kid in town. So I call it a pre-gratitude. It's the way of somebody trying to establish goodwill, good dynamic once they move into a new environment. So that's 承蒙关照. I use this ancient Great Wall picture because it actually captures all of that. Great Wall was built to prevent the Hmong, so people who are living with not farmland, but herding, nomadic lifestyle. That's the one on the north to the Great Wall. So that somebody tried to stay away. And 承, this is like inherited thousands of years ago, right? 关, and this is regarded kind of a 关, like a gatekeeping. So this is a gate. I'm pretty sure like besides the wall, there are some occasionally that may be gate, like people can actually go out to the other side. But most of the time it's a closed gate. But in any case, it's a sort of a gatekeeping. And 照, we have the beautiful lighting. And that's perfectly captured 承蒙关照 4 characters, even if it just means please, showing kindness to your new neighbors, or you're the new one and you ask for help, future support to pre-establish that good rapport with your environment, right? Cash into the currency of thinking by 1 word a day with Sophie. See you another day.